What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 219 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for February 7th, 2018. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. And every single week right here on the show, I answer your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to send in a question, find me on the Twitter machine. Tweet me there at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. Be sure to find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question in the comment section down below on this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So, without further ado, let's get started here with Brandon A. from YouTube. Today's topic for him is dream matches. He's got 3 questions in one here, and then he's got more questions after that. What is your biggest dream match that can realistically happen, that has a high probability of happening? What is your biggest dream match that can realistically happen, that has a very low chance of happening? And finally, what is your biggest dream match that can't happen? So, 3 very good questions. For the first one, biggest dream match that can realistically happen, that has a high probability of happening, AJ Nakamura. I mean, obviously, first of all, we know we're getting it unless one of them gets hurt or something changes. So that, to me, in WWE is a dream match. One of the biggest money matches this company can do right now is Styles Nakamura at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, and we are getting it. The other answer I want to give to that question, that I think, it's a weird answer, because I'm going to say John Cena versus Undertaker. Now, it has a high probability of happening because it's been rumored for months now at WrestleMania 34. The weird thing is that I don't want it to happen at WrestleMania 34. That, to me, was a dream match last year, the year before that, fucking 10 years ago. I feel like that ship sailed. It's like almost as if we got Undertaker Sting at WrestleMania this year. Would I want to see it in 2018? Absolutely not. Because Taker looked like shit last year. Sting hasn't wrestled in years. I'm sure the match would be garbage. Like even more so than it would have been, a few years ago. So it's a dream match, but it's like doing Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan in 2018. The match would be fucking garbage. It wouldn't have been good in the first place, like from an in-ring standpoint. But to do it 15 years after the fact, is it really a dream match anymore? Like it was at one point. I'd rather see them dig up the corpse of Macho Man Randy Savage and put him in the ring with fucking AJ Styles. Obviously not, but so that has a high probability of happening, though I don't really want to see it happen. Cena Taker at WrestleMania this year. Your biggest dream match that can realistically happen, that has a very low chance of happening. I put Styles Omega here, and then when I was saying the thing about Macho Man and the corpse, it does nothing to do with Macho Man, but I was thinking of it at that moment. AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, like I just said, if Kenny Omega comes over to WWE, which hopefully by the time he comes over, AJ's still here. Not only that, though, AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels. Very low chance of happening. It can realistically happen. All Shawn Michaels has to do is come out of retirement. So it can happen. Both guys are alive, and that would be a dream match. I'm not sure if it'd be amazing, considering Michaels has not wrestled in nearly 8 years. But it'd still be a great match, I'm sure. And your biggest dream match that can't happen. Like I said earlier, Taker Sting. I mean, I guess it could happen if they brought Sting out of retirement, but I think it's a health issue, so that's not going to happen. So at this point, that ship has sailed, nor should it have happened at any point in the last 2 years, just because Sting would have been in terrible shape, Taker would have been in terrible shape. Again, 5 years ago, if they did the match, it would have been, I'm sure the match would not have been amazing anyway, but, at fucking 50 years old each, it would not have been a great match in 2017 or 2018. I think that ship sailed a while ago. And also CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. It can happen, because Punk is done with wrestling and Stone Cold is retired. He's not coming out of retirement, no matter what people might think. But that would have been a great match back in like 2012, 2013 especially, after all the hype for 2K. Not 2K. Was it 2K at that point? I don't think so. I think it was just WWE 13, their video game that came out. It might have been produced by 2K. I don't remember. But that was a great game, and the hype for it was based all around CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that was at the peak of Punk's popularity in the company. It would have been amazing. What current superstar actually has the potential to be the biggest transcendent star, Rock Austin level, in terms of everything? In-ring ability, mic work, look of a champion, the charisma, an interesting character, theme music and entrance, and a young enough age to have a future longevity? Good question. Anyone I might say, it's not going to matter anyway because we're not going to get another Rock Austin. I know what you're saying, Rock Austin level. There will never be another Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin. I guess you could say Roman Reigns because he's got the look. He's good enough in the ring. His mic work when he wants to be can be very good. Interesting character, not at all, but they turned him heel. That would save that. I think Roman Reigns could be your answer if they actually booked him properly. I don't know. Aside from the obvious answer of Roman Reigns, which I know people will hate to hear, but Braun Strowman, I think honestly can be a huge star for this company if they can keep him along the right path. The way they've booked him over the last year and a half has been perfect. Granted, okay, maybe not perfect. That might be too strong of a word because he's lost when it matters most. More often than not, if this was fucking 98, he would have been a champion 3 months ago, let alone fucking a year ago, because he would have been at the peak of his popularity. People are super hot for him right now. They would have put the championship on him because that's what you're supposed to do, but they want to stick with Brock and Roman and the crowning of the big dog at WrestleMania. But Braun, I think, is a perfect example of a guy that can be a huge star for them that's still young. I think he's still young. I'll look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure he's in his early 30s. Let's see. Google is my friend. Braun Strowman. Let's see. The old Google machine. He can't be more than 32. I don't think so anyway. 34. Okay, so he's young enough. He's definitely young enough. Fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't a blue chipper when he came into the company. I don't think so anyway. So yeah, he's definitely young enough to build around him as a future star for the next 6, 7, 8 years. I think he's definitely on that level, but the mic skills and everything's not amazing when it comes to Strowman. I mean, no one's going to have everything. Everything you just mentioned, in-ring ability, mic work, look of a champion, the charisma, interesting character, theme music, entrance, young enough age. Did they really have all of that, though? Did Rock really have all of that? Maybe he had 9 out of 10. In-ring ability, the guy was not the best wrestler. He really wasn't. No one is a fucking perfect masterpiece when it comes to in-ring ability, mic work. Obviously, I would say Styles, but he's a bit too old and he won't be around forever. But I will say Roman. That's an obvious answer. Braun Strowman. And here's a dark horse. Chad Gable. I think if they push Chad Gable as a single star the right way, the guy could be fucking huge for this company. Chad Gable is really, 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 really good. And you don't really get a chance to see it more often than not, but when you do see it in singles matches with AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Rusev last year, and then the promos that he cuts, the guy's also a really good talker when they give him a mic and time to talk. He looks, again, he's fairly short. He doesn't look like a fucking Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin, but who the fuck cares? Neither was Kurt Angle, and the guy was a huge star for them in, the early 2000s. So that's not an excuse. They can build up an interesting character for him. If they gave him good music, the music he has now with Benjamin is fine, but if they gave him back his old music, that'd be good too. Has that kind of Kurt Angle feel to it. I'm pretty sure he's fairly young too. Back to Google. Let's see. Should not have closed that tab. Chad Gable. He's got to be in his early 30s too as well. I would assume so anyway. He is 31. He's freaking 31. He is way too young. Way too young. So I think Gable would honestly. He's a dark horse there. Because I don't think they would ever build around him as the face of the company. But they could if they wanted to. The guy's young enough and he has a lot of the things you just mentioned. So Brandon's third question here, third part of his question. Rank these modified WrestleMania cards that a dream match that you would prefer most to see. Obviously, storylines leading up to WrestleMania would have to be changed to make these matches work. So WrestleMania 18, he's got 3 WrestleManias here. WrestleMania 18, the card would look like, according to Brandon, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan, so the dream match that everyone wanted. Rock and Hogan was still amazing too, but that was the match that people really wanted to see. The Rock and Ric Flair versus Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and Chris Jericho versus Triple H versus The Undertaker for the undisputed title, with Austin and Hogan going on last. WrestleMania 20, Shawn Michaels versus The Rock, after Brock and Goldberg. The Backlash Hardcore match moved up 1 month between Foley and Orton. And then Triple H versus Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship going on last. And also adding Batista and Flair to the Raw Tag Team title match. And then finally, WrestleMania 22. Eddie Guerrero would obviously still have to be alive for this one. Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero for the World Heavyweight Championship, and it goes on last. You put John Cena versus Triple H for the WWE Championship in the middle. And you still do the triple threat match with Ray, Angle, and Orton as a number one contenders match with more time. That's a good question. All three WrestleManias are solid. Your versions of these WrestleManias. 18 would easily be 3. Like, there is no question about it. That card honestly does nothing for me. Stone Cold and Hogan is good too, but there was nothing wrong with Hogan and Rock. Hogan and Rock was great. It was awesome. I'm sure Stone Cold versus Hogan would have been on that same level, if not a bit better, but the rest of the card does nothing for me. Triple H, Jericho, and Taker in a triple threat match. Who cares? Rock and Ric Flair versus Hall and Nash. Who the fuck cares? That's easily number 3. Between the other two, I gotta give the edge to the WrestleMania 22 card, if only for Michaels and Eddie. I know you put Shawn and Rock on WrestleMania 20, and that WrestleMania 20 card you just gave me was also really, really good with H and Benoit going on last, and then Foley and Orton having their hardcore match from Backlash moved up to WrestleMania. All of that sounds great, but WrestleMania 22, it's hard to pass up on Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero. I think it would have been the better match over Shawn and Rock for the World Heavyweight Championship. And you still got Cena and Triple H, which I think was a really good WrestleMania match. Maybe not the best WrestleMania match of all time, but Cena and H was also really good from WrestleMania 22. And then if you still have Ray, Angle, and Orton with just more time and not a fucking 8-minute world title match, you're good as gold. That's a great WrestleMania card. So I'd go WrestleMania 22 first, WrestleMania 22nd, WrestleMania 18 third. Joe M from YouTube as well. Would you call attending WrestleMania last year one of the best experiences of your life? Absolutely. Absolutely. No hesitation. I've said this multiple times before. It's up there. It's interesting. The last 3 big 4 pay-per-views that I've been to, SummerSlam, both SummerSlam weekends were great. SummerSlam 2015 and SummerSlam 2016, as well as Rumble weekend just a few short weeks ago, and WrestleMania weekend. All 4 of the greatest weekends of my life. And there's obviously other non-wrestling related weekends that rank high up there as well. But WrestleMania weekend might be it. It might be number 1. Everything considered, the way that everything kind of went off without a hitch, and the shows that we went to, and the people I got to meet, some familiar faces, some new faces. Had just an amazing time. Just a really amazing time. And a great weather in Orlando. It was unbelievable, and I can't wait to do it again, hopefully at some point in the future. Maybe next year with New York, but it's not Orlando. Orlando is just unbelievable. It was amazing. But yeah, WrestleMania was something. The cool thing about it, too, is that I had long wanted to go to WrestleMania for 9 years since I first started watching wrestling in 2008. Hell, before I even officially started calling myself a wrestling fan in April of 2008, I would see commercials on the USA Network for WrestleMania 24, wondering how I can watch that show. Because I had seen bits and pieces of the bills of the pay-per-view, especially with Big Show and Floyd Money Mayweather. And I was like, I would love to see that show. I thought it was on TV, on USA, at 8 o'clock on a Sunday or something. And then I found out it was on pay-per-view for $50. I said, no thanks. But that WrestleMania 24, was at the Citrus Bowl. It was at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. And then, the irony, I guess, of going to my first WrestleMania in that very same building 9 years later. And I almost went to WrestleMania 29. I wanted to go to that Mania because it was my senior year of high school. It was the closest to me. It just didn't really work out. But I'm glad I waited because it was well worth the wait and easily one of, if not, the best weekend of my life. Just going to WrestleMania was unbelievable. So if you've never been, go. It doesn't matter how bad the show is. Obviously, that might hinder your experience a bit, walking out of the arena and being mad or something. But WrestleMania 33 was just something special, to say the least. His second question, would Ty Dillinger be better off, would he be any better off on Raw? I don't think so. If anything, he'd be even further down the card. I know Kurt Hawkins actually got over more on Raw with the whole loser gimmick than he ever did on SmackDown. But Dillinger, he's a loser too. That guy's a fucking loser, let's face it. But at the same time, I think he can be better than that. I think he can be a solid mid-card guy. And they were kind of teasing that for a little while. When they pushed him towards the mid-card scene last fall, in the U.S. Championship program with Baron Corbin and then AJ Styles. After losing that match, it amounted to nothing. He just literally disappeared from TV for 3 months. And then why he's at number 10 in the top 10, I have no idea. The guy has not won a match since fucking Methuselah was alive. So why he would even be on the top 10, I have no idea. But no, I think he'd be even worse off on Raw, probably getting cut or go back to NXT. I wouldn't even say at this point, oh, go back to NXT, because he did it all there. The guy's a loser. He's already lost everyone there, so why go back to NXT? NXT is stacked. They don't need Ty Dillinger. They just need to focus more on pushing the guy and maybe turning him heel, because he shined as heel in NXT. And he got over because of the 10 gimmick, but it has a short shelf life. Just flashing your hands, doing the 10 thing. It's not going to get you over long term, so they got to give the guy a manager or something, because currently on SmackDown, he's doing a whole lot of nothing. And I think putting him on Raw would not change anything. It would not change his fortunes in the slightest. His third question: what do you think Elias and the New Day will be doing at WrestleMania this year? Elias, I mean, they could all be in the. I would assume the New Day is going to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Because, first of all, I do not want another multi-team tag team title match from either brand. Maybe Raw, but we see that every year. I'm ready for something new. SmackDown tag team titles weren't even defended at WrestleMania last year. But New Day should not be involved in that conversation. What, New Day and Bludgeon Brothers? I don't know. I don't really care about the New Day in the tag team title picture for a while to come. So I would put them in the Battle Royal. They were in the Battle Royal a few years ago, too. I think at 31, in addition to the tag team title match. But yeah, I'd put New Day in the Battle Royal, or you can have them host again. It doesn't really matter. For Elias, he's not going to get a big singles match at WrestleMania. I think that's pretty evident. But if they give the guy, I think putting him in a concert, like Muhammad Hassan came out and attacked Eugene at WrestleMania 21, giving that spot to Elias as opposed to putting him in the Battle Royal, I think he'd be better off doing something like that. And then The Rock comes out or Hogan returns or some shit like that. Would he get buried? No. Because he's getting the rub from one of the bigger stars. He doesn't have to lay out The Rock or Hulk Hogan in order to be considered pushed. But anyway, I think Elias doing something like that, like a big concert on a grand stage like that, would be amazing. It would be much better than him being in the Battle Royal, unless he wins. But even then, who cares? Because Mojo Rawley won the Battle Royal, and he's doing a whole lot of nothing right now. Joe's fourth question: what was the point of giving Gable and Benjamin the clean win over Breezango last week? Even when they were winning week in and week out, the crowd never really bought into them as serious contenders, as you could tell by the reactions or lack thereof. So I don't see how that is going to change after they were beaten so convincingly by the Usos at the Royal Rumble. Instead, why not just allow Breezango to build more momentum after their win over Rusev and Aiden English a few weeks ago? Yeah, I completely forgot about that, as did everyone else. The booking of the SmackDown Tag Team division right now, I mean, the Usos are incredible. And the Bludgeon Brothers are coming along nicely. But beyond that, the well run's dry. And they have a lot of good tag teams, but it's people win matches and it amounts to nothing. They just forget about it. I thought Rusev, they would build up a losing streak gimmick and then give him a big win, which I guess he technically did with the 4-way on SmackDown last week before losing the U.S. title match clean last night on SmackDown. Whatever. But Breezango, they're not going to be a serious tag team. They just won't be. As long as the Fashion Files are around, which are entertaining, I thought the latest episode on .com, on the YouTube channel, whatever, this past week was great. They don't even air them on SmackDown anymore. They just put them on .com on the YouTube channel. It was funny, but they're not serious contenders. So having Breezango beat Gable and Benjamin, that would have been even worse. I think the match didn't even really need to happen because the post-Rumble crowd in Philly was exhausted. They could not have cared less. Gable and Benjamin, though, I know they just lost the Usos twice in the matter of one night at the Rumble, which was mind-boggling to me. But they should be, on their redemption tour, bouncing back with a few wins. Having them lose to Breezango is not going to do anyone any favors, because Breezango and Usos, we've already seen that anyway. They would be better off as heels, doing their own thing, being pretty boy a heel tag team. But they're doing the Fashion Files thing, and that's cool, but it's hard to take them seriously beyond that, because they'll never get to tag team title contention as long as they're doing this gimmick, as long as the Usos are champions. So it would have been even more pointless to have Breezango win the match, so I disagree. Elena the Y from YouTube: I see Hideo Itami got passed up for a newer, debuting indie star in 205 Live. Any chance he gets jumped in the parking lot next week and we never learn who did it? Hey, you know what? I'd pop for it. If we find out it was the same person who did it in NXT, I would. That's the most amazing storytelling, long-term storytelling this company has ever done. If they do it, but they won't, so it doesn't matter. Next question: Rockstar Spud is the most ECW name ever, but it was in TNA. Drake Maverick is the most TNA name ever, but it's in WWE. What WWE name is he going to get when he goes to New Japan Pro Wrestling? I disagree. Well, first of all, the Rockstar Spud name it does sound very ECW. It's a dumb name. So the fact that people got so upset that they changed it to Drake Maverick, first of all, they acknowledged him as Rockstar Spud when he first came to 205 Live. Daniel Bryan called him that. I think the commentators did. And then Michael Cole did it again this past week on Raw. They've called him Rockstar Spud numerous times now. Second of all, it's a bad name anyway. It's so stupid. It's so TNA. Drake Maverick is not that much better. Oh, what a terrible name. No, it's a much better name than Rockstar Spud. People just know him as Rockstar Spud, which is why people got upset. It's a much better name for 205 Live. Rockstar Spud just sounds fucking dumb as shit. Drake Maverick is not a TNA name. That sounds like a WWE name, like right out of a generator. Right out of a random name generator. So I disagree with you there, but I wonder what name they'll give him in New Japan. I wonder. I mean, maybe down the road we'll find out. Their next question, why did AJ Styles interrupt the Owen-Zayn match on Smackdown, and what did Byron Saxton mean by saying AJ had no choice? Byron's an idiot. I have no idea what he was talking about. That literally made no sense. Made absolutely no sense. Of course he had a choice. It's called not hitting Sami Zayn. That was so dumb. The finish of that match, the match was really good. The finish was abysmal. Because first of all, it was so predictable, so disappointing, and then it's like, it makes AJ look like a complete idiot. Because if he hits one of them, it's going to be a no contest or a DQ finish. It's like, you can't hold back for another 5 minutes to beat the crap out of one of these guys. Like, it's so stupid. I hated the finish. I know where they were going with the triple threat match and whatever. And it should be a great match, don't get me wrong, but it's like, been there, done that with these guys. I'm ready for this feud to move on. I am beyond done with this feud at this point. But, yeah, I don't know. That finish was just stupid. It made AJ look like an idiot, and Byron's even a bigger idiot for saying that. Captain Sunshine from YouTube, is WWE trying to turn Alexa Bliss into the new Molly Holly? First, they tried to use the big butt diss on her by Mickie James, calling her biscuit butt. Now they have her bringing up issues like sexism on Raw, only to be drowned out by the male GM explaining that there can't be possibly sexism because the WWE Universe is clapping for her title defense at Elimination Chamber. Yeah, I did not get that either. I did not understand that. So Alexa Bliss is like, oh, that's sexism. Do you favor Brock more than me? And he said no. And she's like, why is he not defending his belt? And I am. And he goes, oh, is this something the fans want to see? And they start chanting yes like the sheeps they are. And it's like, but if you ask them the same question about Brock, would you want to see Brock defend his title inside the Elimination Chamber? They would chant yes too. The whole segment was dumb. I'm glad they addressed that. Alexa Bliss is a complaining character. She's a constant whiner. So it made sense for her to speak up. But if they don't have a solid excuse as to why they're putting Bliss in the chamber and not Lesnar, then it's stupid. I know Angle said, oh, because Lesnar had his, he had his title match. He defended his championship at the Rumble. You didn't. But it's like, that's because all the women were in the Rumble. No wonder she couldn't defend her championship, because all the women were in the Rumble. So that's what went wrong there. But yeah, if you don't have a solid excuse, then don't even do it. Because that excuse from Angle, like, oh, because the universe is clapping for her title defense, makes no sense. And it was pretty dumb. Next question, did Asuka ever declare she's challenging for the Raw Women's Championship? Because otherwise, why is Nia Jax facing her at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view to determine whether or not Nia will be added to the Raw title match at WrestleMania if the match hasn't even been determined at all yet? Again, another plot hole there that makes no sense. Because no, they never said that Asuka was going for the Raw Women's Championship. I would assume what they should have said was that if Nia Jax wins, she will be added to the Raw Women's title match at WrestleMania. So that's probably what they meant. They didn't really explain it too well. It's not that Asuka versus the Raw Women's Champion is official for WrestleMania. I think it's a matter of, even if Asuka, like he said triple threat match, which is just so stupid, but Kurt Angle did on Raw, but they should have had him say it better in that if Asuka chooses the Raw Women's Championship to vie for WrestleMania, then it's a triple threat. Otherwise, it's Nia Jax versus whoever the champion is one-on-one if Asuka goes for the SmackDown Women's Championship. They should have clarified that. They didn't. This company's not awesome at explaining things sometimes. It's probably what they meant, because I don't think Asuka ever said, she never said, to be quite frank, that she was going for the Raw Women's Championship, nor should she. I do not want to see Asuka versus Bliss at WrestleMania, Bliss versus Nia, or I don't want to see Bliss versus Nia either, but we're probably getting that. Which makes no sense, by the way. I'm really hoping that either Sasha or Bayley win the Elimination Chamber, because first of all, Nia should not beat Asuka at the Chamber pay-per-view. She probably won't. She won't anyway, so it doesn't matter. But If they are going to do Bliss and Nia, and you have Nia lose that match, so she's not the number one contender, then how do you build to Nia and Bliss at WrestleMania? Bliss retaining her title in the Chamber is so predictable. And how many people have we seen over the years successfully defend their championship inside the Chamber? Way too many, when you consider that the odds are stacked against them like 5-1. It's so stupid. So I hope they don't do that. I would rather, I know, Banks and Bayley is champion again. I would hate to see that. It's too old. Seen that before. Been there, done that. I get it. But like I said in Hidden Remote this past week in an article, I still think that Asuka and Charlotte and then Bayley and Banks are the two top matches they should be doing for that championship, or both belts, at WrestleMania. I love Bliss, but it's like anything involving her at this point at WrestleMania is not a WrestleMania-worthy match. Their next question: did 205 Live manage to fail upwards? First, it was a show that was at best bad NXT. Later, it became a weird sports entertainment show starring Enzo Amore, featuring Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy going on tour with them, along with Nia Jax, a special romantic interest referee. Now, Rockstar Spud is GM. New guys like Hideo Itami and Roderick Strong and the UK guys are popping up to flesh out the roster, and the matches and format are suddenly closer, the Cruiserweight Classic, than they ever were before. Yeah, 205 Live obviously took some time to find its footing, but the show is much better now than it has ever been. Probably the best episode ever we got on Tuesday night. Absolutely go out of your way to see both matches. Kalisto and Dorado was a great match, and then Itami versus Strong in the main event was excellent. And I love the two-match format. The show is shorter. There's less time for filler. No dumb segments with the fucking Zoe train and shit like that. And you get the brief inner splice segments with people backstage with Drake Maverick. And everything about it is just a lot better since Enzo Amore got released. What a concept. I mean, I know. Shocker. Enzo Amore is gone from the show and it's better. But it seems like they're really starting to take it seriously. And I hope they keep it up, because the matches the last 2 weeks have been great. Next week they're bringing in Mandrews, which would be cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the remainder of this tournament. But yeah, no, I'm really digging 205 Live. So if you have yet to check it out in the new format for the show, you're missing out, because those matches this past week and last week were all very, very good. Mark S. from Facebook: any idea who Andrade Almas will be facing at the NXT TakeOver or New Orleans show if he's still champion by then? Champion by then. It's got to be Aleister Black. I don't read spoilers. I'm not spoiling anything. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's got to be Black. Like, who else would be facing Almas? They're not doing Gargano again. He lost clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring at TakeOver a few weeks ago. It's got to be Aleister Black. I read a report that it was going to be Lars Sullivan. Dave Meltzer, I think he's a very credible source more often than not, but he's got to be covering his ass there. Because he's like, oh, Lars Sullivan, he was supposed to be the next challenger for the NXT Championship before he got hurt. I'm not doubting that he got hurt, because he has not been seen on TV for a while, and he was not at the latest set of tapings, apparently. I 100% believe that he got hurt. I don't believe whatsoever that he was being groomed for a title match with Andrade Almas in New Orleans. That would have made absolutely no sense. And I like Lars Sullivan a lot. I like Almas a lot. I'm not saying the match would have been bad or anything, but Almas is a heel. Sullivan is a perfect heel. It would have made absolutely no sense. It seemed people were saying that Black was going for the championship in New Orleans since fucking like when he debuted a year ago. So the fact that, it's been Lars Sullivan this whole time, and now just because he's hurt, it's going to be Aleister Black, makes no sense. I do not believe that at all. I know that wasn't your question. I just wanted to bring that up. His second question: any cruiserweights you would be interested in seeing joining the 205 tournament outside of the 205 Live roster? Well, I was saying on Twitter about a week ago, bringing in people from the Cruiserweight Classic, like the two biggest names that obviously did not sign, being Zack Sabre Jr. and Kota Ibushi. Now, after what has become of 205 Live, obviously it's better now than it has been in the past, but I still highly, highly doubt they would look at that show and be like, oh, why would I be brought in to go nowhere in this fucking tournament unless I'm winning? So that's not happening. Even despite that, I think Kota Ibushi, I don't know if he's signed to New Japan now or what's going on, but he's doing his own thing with fucking Kenny Omega anyway, so it doesn't even matter. And Zack Sabre Jr., I think, is also signed to New Japan, so they're not coming in. But if they brought in people that we haven't seen before, that would be pretty cool. I don't know who it would be, but it is sweet they're picking from, the UK guys and the NXT guys and stuff like that. I would like to see, Oney Larkin maybe, and a few guys like that. for the tournament. Maybe Danny Burch if he's under the weight limit. I'm not sure if he is. Guy's buffed up, but yeah, I'm not. And no real names come to mind that aren't already under contract to WWE or NXT or the UK tournament, whatever. But I am glad they are picking from the NXT and UK rosters for this tournament to make it feel fresh with newer matchups. His third question: do you think getting a manager for the Street Profits could take them to the next level like Men on a Mission? I'm going to pretend I did not just read that. Are you saying that they would be taken to the next level like Men on a Mission? That's one of the most racist stables of all time. Why would you ever want to compare the Street Profits to Men on a Mission? They were terrible. Men on a Mission were awful. You say that as if they're D-Generation X. I'm sure it's an honest mistake, but I read that and I almost started laughing when I saw it last night. It's like, the Street Profits being the next Men on a Mission. That would be just the kiss of death. No, they don't need a manager. They don't need a manager. They're fine on their own. Next. I know it's a little bit early, but any idea that you would like who you would like to see win the Mixed Match Challenge, and what team has impressed you so far? Well, Bliss and Strowman seem to have a lot of good chemistry together, so I would love to see them go all the way in the tournament, as Bliss said, just to be specific. Becky and Sammy got knocked out first round, but I love them as a team. That backstage segment they did after their loss last week was hilarious. You could see Becky corpsing in the background, or like on the side of the video. It was hilarious. But they're not winning because I guess they could be voted back in, but I don't see them winning. I think Balor, it's got to be between Balor and Sasha and Bliss and Strowman. I think Bliss and Strowman are going to win it. I just would assume so, given the fact they gave him mic time and all this other shit. Rude and Charlotte I like too, but what pairing has like impressed me so far? Bliss and Strowman have great chemistry. I like Zayn and Lynch. They lost though. Balor and Sasha also have good chemistry, but yeah, I like Bliss and Strowman a lot. They're probably my favorite teams so far. And then obviously Naomi and Jimmy Uso have great chemistry because they're married. At Jeremy8911. Or who would I like to see win? Yeah, like I said, I think I already mentioned this, but probably Bliss and Strowman. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, do you think the pairing of Goldust and Mandy Rose, speaking of Mixed Match Challenge, should become a regular thing? Absolutely. Absolutely. They were another team that impressed me, probably more so than any other team so far, because they didn't really have much time to prepare. A lot of these teams have known they're going to be, pairing up for at least the last month and a half. These two did not know at all until like a week ago when Alicia Fox got hurt. So they had like a week to prepare, but they had awesome chemistry. The fact they were about to kiss on the show and he's like 50-something and she's pretty young was a little weird, but beyond that, Goldust is a weird character, so it's perfect for him anyway. She's hot as hell. Goldust needs a new masterpiece. Remember that whole thing from like the summer when they like rebooted Goldust and he needed a new masterpiece, but it went nowhere? Mandy Rose is that masterpiece. Trust me, the whole gold thing, rose dust, it's perfect. Literally perfect is this pairing of Goldust and Rose. So I would love for that to be a regular thing. They could be doing more with Goldust anyway as a heel duo. Oh, brings back memories of Marlena and Goldust. It'd be perfect. And Absolution won't last forever anyway. Paige won't wrestle anymore, so it's only going to go so far. Maybe not anytime soon, but they could always break off Mandy from Absolution, put her with Goldust. She seemed to be more comfortable with Goldust than she has in any other match that she's had to date, which is the plus, because he's also got experience too, so he knows what he's doing as a coach. But you could still keep Sonya with Paige if you wanted to do that whole thing, or maybe replace Mandy. I like the chemistry Absolution has, but Goldust and Mandy is a very good pairing, so I do hope they stick together beyond the Mixed Match Challenge. His second question: how would you fix SmackDown? Personally, I would get better writers, aka Fire Road Dogg, move Finn Balor and Seth Rollins to SmackDown, sign Rey Mysterio to SmackDown, and call up Almas and Zelina to SmackDown as well. I like all of those things. I don't know if it's a Road Dogg thing, but it's like, even the wrestlers have said this. I was listening to a James Ellsworth podcast. He was talking to Chris Jericho last week, and he was like, yeah, we really felt like we were the A show there for a while when the brand split first started, up until like maybe January of 2017. I would go a little further than that. I would say maybe until like WrestleMania. After the show like that I was at, honestly, like after it was clear that Miz was gone, Wyatt leaving SmackDown hardly mattered. But when they lost Miz and they lost Ambrose, They lost a lot of the heart and soul of that show. We got Owens and Zayn, but after that Superstar Shakeup show, SmackDown was not the same after that. It just wasn't. So, I mean, they could definitely bring in some new talent. Balor and Rollins would be perfect on SmackDown. Absolutely perfect. So, yeah, I hope they move them to SmackDown in the next draft. I hope they don't move Styles. I hope not. I think Styles is perfect on SmackDown. Maybe you can move Orton to Raw. That'd be pretty cool. Orton can go to Raw. Maybe Bobby Roode. I like him on SmackDown. Baron Corbin, you can move to Raw. He's kind of done everything on SmackDown anywhere for the most part. He's gone for like most of the titles. But Rey Mysterio on SmackDown. Give the guy one more run. I mean, you can put him on 205 Live, but on SmackDown, that was his home for a while, so I like that idea. Almost and Zelina should absolutely go to SmackDown when they get called up, probably after WrestleMania. Putting them in 205 Live would be just a waste. Same thing with Gargano. I know they might put him on 205 Live, and I know the show is kind of taking a turn for the better, but it's like, woof. I don't know. These guys, I don't know. They deserve better. Almost and Zelina and even Rey Mysterio deserve better than 205 Live. I think they can be big stars on the SmackDown side. At Scarlet1 from Twitter, push, repackage, release Bobby Roode, Rusev, and Randy Orton. Good question. I like Rusev a lot, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a lot more money to be made with Bobby Roode at this point. So I would push Bobby Roode, repackage Randy Orton because he's still a big name, but he needs to turn heel, and then release Rusev, repackage Orton, push, let's see, they're all R's here, so I'm mixing up my R's. Push Roode, repackage Randy, release Rusev. What did you think of the double venue use in Starrcade 1985? I thought it was well done when I was watching Starrcade a couple days ago to review for WrestleRain on Tuesday. It was well done because it wasn't as obvious like with WrestleMania a few years ago. I know they kept on going back and forth, but it wasn't as obvious they were going back and forth. And both crowds were great. The show overall was not awesome. It wasn't the fact they were going back and forth between venues, though, that made it not so great. The undercard just sucked. It was the main matches that really saved that show. But I thought it was a good use of the double venue. I'm not sure if they watched the pay-per-view, like, you know, if the show wasn't going on in that arena, did they watch the show on the big screen? Like, I don't know about that. But, like, with WrestleMania 2, do you pay $1,000 for tickets and then watch the rest of the show in the seats of the arena while it's going on somewhere else? I don't know if they did that. I would assume they did, which seems beyond dumb to me. Raw 25 is one thing. Starrcade 85 or WrestleMania is another thing. So anyway, I think Starrcade, they did it well. Much better than Raw 25. I'll give you that. I'll say that much. They seemingly split it right in half, which was perfect. What's the best February pay-per-view that you've seen? Good question. I think I've answered this before, maybe a while ago, like a year or two ago. But those early No Way Out shows were amazing. Like, really, those early No Way Out shows were really, really good. 2000, 01, 02 to an extent too, maybe 03. Excellent shows. Fucking amazing. So, that's probably the best February pay-per-view that I've seen. No other show comes to mind in recent years. I've said for years and years and years and years, the February pay-per-views are completely pointless. You don't need them. You just don't. You don't need them. Anything you're doing at Elimination Chamber or at Fastlane, you could easily do on an episode of Raw or SmackDown. The pay-per-views are completely pointless. But those early No Way Out shows were great. And probably the last time those, bridges to bridge the gap between the Rumble and WrestleMania were actually necessary. Next few questions here from @the123egg. Should the finals of the Cruiserweight Championship tournament be Roderick Strong versus Drew Gulak to determine who is the plainest white guy on the WWE roster? That's not fair to Gulak. Like, I could see you saying that about Strong, and I think even Strong has come a long way with the video packages, and we kind of get to know more about his kids and his family and everything, which was great. With Gulak, the guy's not as plain as he used to be. I would say that about a year ago, but the PowerPoint stuff has gone over big. Maybe not huge, maybe not to the point of, like, maybe not like Stone Cold Steve Austin level, but he's much better off with the PowerPoint stuff than he ever was before. So, I don't know if he's the plainest white guy in the roster. But no, Strong and Gulak, I know you're not serious, but would not be a good finals match for the tournament. It should be Strong and like Alexander. That'd be an amazing match. At Brad Burdar from Twitter, What was the better match from 205 Live this week? Kalisto versus Dorado or Strong versus Itami? So like I said earlier, both matches are great. Check out the whole show when you have the chance. It's about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. They gave both matches a lot of time, which was great. Of the two, though, if I had to choose between the two, definitely Roderick and Itami was the better match. Kalisto Dorado was also excellent, but Strong and Itami was just beyond awesome. Great match. I know WWE's new version of ECW is considered terrible, but surely it must have been a dream come true for you when two of your all-time favorites in William Regal and Christian were feuding. Yeah, I don't know if it was a dream come true, but I loved it. I don't know if I wasn't as big of a Christian fan at that point as I would later become a few years after that, so I was actually kind of mad that Regal never beat Christian for the championship. But I do remember that I went to my first and only WWE ECW show. It was my first ever WWE show, period. It was a Smackdown taping in November of 2009, and that was smack dab right in the middle of their feud, even like in November. Like, I know they had been feuding since like the summer, but it took some weeks off from it, and they went back to it in November. And I was really, really mad because it was announced on that show that Christian and Regal would be facing off again for the ECW championship the next week in England. So it was like, shit, I wanted to see that live. But, yeah, no, they had some really good matches, too. I know the 8-second match at SummerSlam 09 notwithstanding, but they had a really, really good match on ECW, a good breaking point match, too, a few months before that, but I gotta watch the ECW match back. Thank you for reminding me, because I really, really enjoyed that match. Can you rank these segments from most to least interesting, or entertaining, rather? Team Hell Knows, Anger Management Skits, Breezango's Fashion Files, and Miz and Morrison's Dirt Sheet. Team Hell No Anger Management Skits, number one. Undisputed number one. Those were hilarious. And a great use of both guys, with Mr. Shelby, or Dr. Shelby, and Harold, all those other guys. Those segments were great. I liked the Dirt Sheet. It was entertaining. I mean, some of it was like kind of tongue-in-cheek humor. I don't remember most of the Dirt Sheet. I'm going to say Fashion Files, because I really liked this past week's episode. I would probably say Dirt Sheet, because sometimes Fashion Files really isn't all that funny. But I might have laughed more at Fashion Files than I have at Dirt Sheet. So I'm going to say Breezango's Fashion Files number 2, Dirt Sheet number 3, at number 3 from Miz and Morrison. Do you believe things will work out in the end for the Revival in the long run? I do. I mean, I know they lost to Balor and Carl Anderson on Raw. Oh my God, stop the presses. But it was a good match. They're not being buried. They're a great tag team. They just need, better booking of the tag team division on Raw. That's all. It seems to be the same teams every single fucking week. So, yeah, I think that things will work out for them in the long run, and they will become tag team champions at some point. Final question from Mr. Marceau at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter machine, my brother. His question was, do you think Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville will make an impact in the Elimination Chamber match? And what qualified all these women in the match other than Kurt Angle saying that they are in it? Well, the fact they only have 6 or 7 women on the roster qualified, I don't know what makes Mandy Rose more qualified than, Dana Brooke, other than the fact that Dana Brooke sucks. Yeah, I don't know. They don't have qualifying matches. They should have, but they kind of can't because they only have, such a small talent pool with Alicia Fox being out, and Asuka's not going to be in it, so why would you have her be in a qualifying match? And Paige isn't wrestling anymore, so they don't really have many women to pick from anyway. I don't even know who's not in it. I mean, Asuka's not obviously in it because she's going for the championship at WrestleMania. Nia Jax isn't in it, and Dana Brooke, and that's it. So, yeah, I mean, it would have been, I don't know, they should have done a better job of making these women or explaining what qualified them to be in it, because it's not like, past experience with the former champions Mickie James, Bayley, and Sasha, because Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville have done nothing on the main roster. Neither is Dana Brooke, but it's like Nia Jax would be better qualified for it. So, yeah, that was, annoying, but nothing out of the ordinary from WWE. And as for Rose and Deville, will they make an impact in the chamber match? I think they will. I think they're going to be showcased pretty properly, but then again, they were tossed pretty quickly from the Women's Rumble. So I'm not getting my hopes up. Mandy Rose, I think, was the first woman tossed from the match altogether, so she technically made history in that respect. But it's not like they lasted a long time or they dominated the rest of the women. I think Bayley and Banks will have a pretty good showing because the focus is on them right now. Mickie James, I would assume, will be the first one gone. But they could wreak some havoc in there. I don't think they'll be the standout stars of the match, but they should be booked to last a little longer. Maybe Sasha eliminates, I could see them doing a deal where Mickie James is gone, and then Sasha out of nowhere eliminates Bayley just to say, or vice versa, just to kind of get rid of them, or just to kind of say, oh, haha, payback for the Rumble, whatever, bitch. So then they leave. And then it's down to either Sasha or Bayley, then the Absolution members, Mandy Rose and Deville, and then Alexa Bliss. Then Bayley or Banks, they beat Bliss, or they beat Rose, they beat Deville, and then Bliss ends up overcoming the odds and beating the babyface in the end of retainer title. I don't want to see that happen, because like I said earlier, I'd rather see Banks or Bayley win the championship to set up their match at WrestleMania for the belt, or whatever. But yeah, I think Rose and Deville should have a strong showing nonetheless. So that does it, guys, for episode 219 of #AskGSM here today for February 7th, 2018. I am Graham GSM Matthews. As always, guys, if you want to send in a question to the show for next week's installment, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question in the comment section down below. I'll include it in next week's edition. So all that being said, guys, very excited for next week's installment for no other reason, just because it's another episode of #AskGSM. I love doing the show for you guys. Thank you for checking the show as always. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, like I said, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome rest of your week, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews once again, and I'll catch your ass down the road.